about how to do more deals in today's market. I'm with Brooks O'Hearn and Kaiten Murphy. They are fellow podcasters of the RE Junkies. That's a cool name. I like it, guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
You guys are also both real estate investors, and your coaches focusing on helping agents build generational wealth. That is no small feat since agents can't even do math.
It is no small feat. That's right. We're trying to get agents away from the transaction treadmill.
That's good.
And
I'm glad. I'm gonna watch eating my popcorn, watch you do that.
yes, yes.
Talk to us about what's working for you guys in getting deals in this market. How are you getting leads? What's working for your coaching clients? What's not working that used to work?
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's start off by what's not working, and that's putting a sign in the yard and having everything sell the first weekend, even at whatever price. And so, what needs to really happen, and the way we're getting deals, is taking it back to where we were 4 or 5 years ago, and actually providing value and providing a service. And so one of the things, like, it that's like a buzzword: provide value, provide a service. Yes, but like, I'll even this week alone, I have had 4 or 5 friends reach out to me and either ask for a referral for an agent. They're looking for a vacation home, or another friend is looking for a second home. um Actually, 2 friends are looking for a second home, and they all have come to me because they all used a different agent in their first home purchase, and they went with the friend, and they were like, it worked, but I didn't really get a lot of value out of it. And so now I'm having to walk them through the step by step of, okay, here's how you can leverage these funds into a vacation home, or here's how you can creatively get into your second home and start actually building a portfolio. Whereas anybody can walk down the street, oh, you got to bid 100K over
Right.
list price to get your first, basically sell your firstborn. Like, those
Yeah, but I
days
think
are gone.
like the concepts that you're talking about are you're adding value because you're actually in the business of real estate investing. But
Yes.
Kaiten, let's say that most agents are not in that business, which we need to do a whole nother podcast on
Oh,
how
yeah.
to gotta get into the business of actually building wealth and having real estate. But how do you add value to your customers if it's not from that perspective of like your home is an investment?
Sure. So the way that I've got the investing experience as well, but
Right.
my niche market or audience or clientele, whatever you want to say, is actually first time home buyers. And so what I really spend a lot of my time doing.
God loves you.
Am I saying no? But I'm still alive. We're chugging through. But what I've found is, obviously a first-time home buyer has no clue what's going on. And so I actually, right when COVID started, I was like, I'm going to take to social media and I'm going to learn how to educate them on what the process looks like, what the timeline looks like, what documents do you need, what's your first step. And my almost entire business is now driven off of social media at this point. And people literally just land in my DMs and they're like, hey, I've been following you for 3 months. I'm ready to go. I want to buy a house. I don't know this.
Well, and I think what you're saying is really important too. You niche down and you're answering their questions before they're asked.
Exactly.
And you're doing it like regularly. So your consistent time on task is happening, right? Like, Brooks, are you thinking that niching down is a critical piece of doing more deals today? Because it feels like if you niche down, you're going to lose deals.
Absolutely. I think that if I think you have to niche down in today's market, and that doesn't necessarily mean niche down and cut out a ton of options, or cut out a ton of buyers and sellers. What that can mean is niche down and find actual solutions. So, like, for me, when I sit down across the table from a home seller, the question is not, in their mind, and the way I pose this, the question is not, hey, am I going to list with Brooks, Kaiten, or Jen? The question is Brooks going to list my house? Is Brooks going to buy my house directly from me? Or are we going to figure out a third option, like a 1031 exchange or something creative like that, right? And you mentioned, like, you know, getting into the investing business. I mean, you can know a quarter of an inch of knowledge in the investing side and still lay out multiple solutions at the kitchen table. And there is no one else in your market that is doing this, I promise you, because I have had multiple people who interact with me on social media, and we'll just say we're on two very different sides of the political spectrum, and they have come at me very, very personally, and I am still their first call for real estate. And I lay out three options, and they're like, well, we're going to pick one of these options. We're going with you. You're our solution. It's just a matter of which one.
So I think what you're speaking to is something, I mean, as real estate is changing, right? We can agree.
Yes.
Okay. The market is shifting. We can agree.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So as a real estate agent, we need to understand that there's more than one way to buy a house, which is you providing the options. So how are you guys educating your coaching clients, your team, on all those ways to do that? How are they learning about that?
I think you trim it down to just a couple that you can repeat.
Okay. Good advice.
So you can rinse and repeat. Each situation is going to be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And you may run into, let's say, you know, grandma or grandpa just passed away. The family now has inherited the property. Well, in that situation, there are only a couple things they want to do with it, right? They either want to list it and try to sell for the most money if price is their most important factor, which, side note for everyone listening, price is almost always a cover up for something else. So if you think price is the most important thing in real estate, like,
it's never about the money. If it was about the money, nobody would buy a Lamborghini or a G-Wagon.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So, like, ask two more questions after you ask in the sale. The second thing is, I can buy it directly from them, and I'm very transparent with them, right? I may do the renovations, or I may just sell this contract to another investor and make a small wholesale fee.
Ooh,
okay.
We got so much shade on our wholesale podcast. I should have had
so
you
and it's there's a lot of shade. There's a lot of shade, and I'll be honest with you, up until the last deal, like 60 days ago, where I bought from another wholesaler, I was very on the side of pro investor, and like, hey, just, you know, realtors don't understand it, and we'll just, you know, let's each play in our own corners. I have now been given a very strong case for why wholesalers should at the very least be licensed.
All right,
and
we'll
should
fight
at the
about
very
that
least,
on a
like they have to be say what?
We're going to fight about that on a different podcast.
Okay. And we can, like, again, my mind completely shifted. Like, they at least need to know contracts and go through the continuing education credits and just something, right? Go through a yearly contracts class at bare minimum. Because the truth is, agents know the contracts 10 times better than wholesalers do. So if you're an agent, if you're an agent out there who is saying, like, shunning down wholesalers, take 5 minutes and figure out how you can do it in your business, because it's so simple, and you will run circles around every wholesaler in your market.
We just lost our entire audience. But what you're saying is, okay, so there's a traditional, you're presenting options. One option is traditional, way of traditional selling. Another option is some type of investor buyer type. And then I think, Caton, which you would probably allude to, is based on your niche, there's going to be like another option of some kind, whether it, like for us, we do like an online bidding option. So it depends on what their problem is, and solve that problem that you're getting. And if you have a niche, you know the problems. But if you're a buyer agent, so if you're a listing agent, it's easy to have all these options, right? Then you'll outpace the competition easily. If you're a buyer agent, how do you deliver value?
I personally think through education. If you have a fully informed buyer, then you've got a really strong buyer and they're able to really go in, and you don't have to play the little dilly-dally game of, oh, I'm just going to offer $1,000 over asking and like hope I get it. I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, here I pull data, I make appraisal packets, I'm like, here's the data. Homes are selling for 106% over ask. You need to come in at this price if you want the house because they have a history of X amount of offers. So if you're fully informing your clients, then I think that you're arming them with a lot of strength to be able to go in, which then helps you as the buyer's agent as well.
Are you signing a buyer agreement?
Do what?
Are you signing a buyer agreement?
With my buyers? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Dumb question, right? But not really.
No, not really a dumb question. Yeah,
Right.
The amount of people that are like, hey, let's just go show some houses. And then they're like, oh, what do you mean you went with a different realtor?
Yeah. I don't typically, and this is probably against other people, what other people do. I don't typically make someone sign on the first one. But typically within the first couple showings, we're signing it because we have to vet out if we're going to be a right fit for each other. I've had clients who I've gone on showings and I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. Not just for you, but for me. And, I'm like, before I even have to get on the road of firing you, we're just going to call it quits and I'm going to refer you to somebody else.
But if you're a buyer agent, it sounds like having a process for how you create the deliverable, which is finding a house for them and getting them under contract, that just having that process and knowing that process and following it every time is the value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, buyer's agents, especially over the last couple of years with the insanity of the market, were working their absolute tails off. And, listing agents, you could just stick a sign in the yard. You waited for everything to come in and then the buyer's agents took it over and had to get the deal to close. So you really do have to have a streamlined process or there's no way you're going to be successful because you can't gain traction.
Talk to us about getting leads in today's market because, we know we've all been in the market for a long time. So we know that 85% of these agents are going to be gone, but a new 85% are going to come in, right? And so we're still competing for the same leads, and those leads have tightened. So how are we getting leads? What is the best way that you guys are doing that? Kate, you're doing it through social media, right?
Social
what is
media.
Your process? Like how often are you doing it? What are you posting? Like expand on it a bit more.
Sure. I post on average, I'll say 4 days a week. My goal is always 5, but for some reason I just cannot get to 5. So I sit down on Monday and I plan out a week's worth of content. Typically what I like to see is some sort of buyer value add, some sort of seller value add. I'm very, very, and Brooks is too, it's really important to infuse your personal life into your Instagram as well, because people aren't just going to connect to your tips. They need to connect to you as a person as well. And then typically I'll, do some sort of like Charlotte highlight or something like that. So I'm kind of bringing in all of these different aspects that educates people on not only the process, but also where they're going to live, home tours to show them like what's available and what price points. And that's typically kind of what my social media strategy looks like. I mean, there's a bunch of other things that go on behind the scenes, but I would say
posting them in, you said Instagram. Is that the only place you're posting?
Yes, because that's where my target audience lives, essentially.
Well, that's a good point. So like, you're back to the niche, right? It's like, who's your niche? Where are they? How are they consuming content? And post there regularly, whatever they want to know.
Exactly.
There are some people that are like completely turning away from Instagram. And Kate and I talk about this all the time, right? Like you can try to be on the cutting edge and you can try to beat and be on every single social media platform. But like Katen is a perfect example. She's like, hey, I don't have the bandwidth for that. And I'm doubling, tripling, quadrupling down right now on Instagram. And that's where all her leads are coming from. And she's the one that interviews her buyers. Her buyers are not interviewing her because her buyers come to her and they're like, we want you. Period. End of story. We want you. And Katen's like, well, let's see if you make
your horse.
But here's the cool thing. I only have 3,900 followers on Instagram and I still am getting a lot of business from Instagram. So like, it's not about the amount of followers. Cause think about it. If you got 3,900 deals, you'd be great.
That'd be great.
So It's about the quality, not the quantity of followers on social media too, which is fantastic.
But I think you're alluding to like even a point of not only niching down, but knowing who your client is and saying no to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see how that can be a hurdle for people, right? Because we as agents, we want everybody to be happy. We're generally like people. So how are you guys getting over that mindset hurdle of like, not everybody is your customer?
You do the wrong deal once with the wrong customer once, and
Twice.
then you say maybe twice. I will give you twice. But in all reality, if you care about your own business, and in your last podcast that your most recent podcast that I've listened to, you talked about like treating this like a business.
Yeah.
Right. This is a business. Mm-hmm. So if you are an agent and you have had one or two poor deals with poor clients that you wish never again to do another type of deal like that, then understand who they were, what the red flags were, go back and say, I will never do that again.
Are you giving me dating advice now? I feel like you are.
as I was coming out of my mouth, I was like, this actually kind of applies to dating too.
It is. But also too, the opposite is true, right? If you have clients that you really like and you enjoy working with, they have commonalities also.
Yes, they do. And it's like for me, and I think Kaiten is similar, but for me, I'm like, first off, if I'm friends with you, there's a high probability I will love to help you buy a house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Can we go to happy hour? Can we go to dinner together? Do I want you and your significant other to double date with me and my fiance? Mm-hmm. That's another question. Like, that's easy. Okay. And then vacation with you. Those are a lot of questions that I ask myself.
Like a lot of vacation.
Could. We're not taking everybody on vacation, but that's something like, hey, could I go on a vacation with you? Yeah. All right. Come on in. Let's go. Other than that, it's a referral. Take the referral credit and move on.
And if you are going to refer, do it for more than what you think so many people, they're like, well, 25% is the average. That's what we do. According to who? Who said that?
Right.
Like, we just do a deal right now. It's 50%. I mean, we do them all day long. It's fine.
Yeah. And it also, and that's also probably dependent on what you're, how much prep work you're doing and what
Everything. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah. What kind of value you're bringing to that other agent, right? If I just simply make a phone call, I'll take 25% all day long, right? For one Facebook post to find a referral agent in that new city and then make one phone call to connect them.
Well, and if they're in your rev share group, you do less.
Exactly.
Good.
Exactly.
Now, Kaiten, so if I want to get a deal now, today, what do I do?
I would start by consistently posting home tours in your city and post home tours in the price point you want to be selling in.
That's such a good advice.
Yes, because if you're posting home tours in a $350,000 house, then you're going to be selling a $350,000 house.
Yeah.
People love HGTV in their pocket. So like show them the pretty houses, show them what's going on in your area. Are there festivals, things like that? And just show up on social media. We always like to say document, don't create. There's no need to sit in your office for 4 hours a day trying to come up with content. Just literally show people what you're already doing. And do it consistently.
I love it.
Yeah.
So Brooks, you and Kaiten, you guys have a lot going on. You've got the RE Junkies podcast.
Yes.
You've got your coaching. You guys are NLP coaches. Tell us like what you're working on. If people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way? Give us all the good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. So the perfect way to get in touch with us is social media. Both of us are on Instagram. So Brooks O'Hearn is very simple on Instagram to find. And then Kaiten Murphy is the letter K, number 10, Murphy, and both on Instagram. Now the NLP coaching is sales and communications. Basically, if you want to know how to scientifically get buyers into a house much faster without showing them 50 houses, if you want to scientifically know how to negotiate through the entire process of your real estate transactions, that's what NLP is. It's communication on a science-based level.
It's awesome.
And so what we do is we've actually got a program that we've developed where we will go into an office and train with your team for an entire day. And you're right there live with us role playing. We walk through every single scenario. We give tons of different prompts and things, and then hand over all of our scripts to your office and let you guys run with it. And then we also coach on social media. And so if you're looking to turn your social media into a revenue and a lead generation platform, then let's do it. Because the reality is the stats show everybody spends an hour or two a day already on social media. So it's time to get paid for it.
Yeah, right.
Like it's time to get paid for it. We break things down. Our mission is to break things down so they're so simple. And this business, a lot of gurus and coaches and everything, they try to make things so complicated, and you've got to layer in all these different follow-ups, and you got to have 19 different softwares and shit. And it's like, just break it down. And we say it's step 1, 2, 3, and you will make more money in this business than you ever have before just by breaking it down and keeping it simple.
Yeah, and to who you really are and what you're really going to do, not what you think you might someday do, hope to do, wish to do.
Yes.
Like, what are you really doing in reality? Yes. Actions matching what you say. That's it.
Yes. Put it in play right now, and then scale and reach the next level when that comes. Like,
great advice.
You can't outrate. You just can't.
Is your podcast everywhere?
Yes. Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever. Yes. So RE Junkies, the RE Junkies, or you can search either one of our names. And we break down case studies, some horror stories. We get some really fun horror stories and like the truth about some of the hard-earned successes, like the hard learning lessons that in real estate.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you both being on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Jen.